changes soon. Can get a doobie on a plane, but there's Uzis in our schools. Every dude who touched a boob or a booty getting me too. What you expect from the kids who went to Hooters after school? We're all triggered and defensive, we're all racist and we're sexist. We all grew up watching South Park. How are we offended? Now being fat is beautiful? Name the thing that you can't do? Jumping jacks, run a mile, live past 42? Man, it used to be cool to just flip a bird to the system, and now it's trendy to be triggered and pretend you're a victim. It's my race, it's my weight, it's because I'm a Christian. I hate the internet and anyone who has an opinion. And everybody angry if you say white. K, fine, pass me the brush and I'll paint my face to the shades right. Let's talk about abortion. Sorry, tell me how this works. Bacteria is life on Mars, but a heartbeat isn't life on Earth? Weird.
Wow.
That's new.
Yeah.
That's a new opinion right there.
I've never heard of this guy, but we thought we'd throw that up there, and welcome to episode 6.
Episode 6, baby.
We're at episode 6. I can't believe it.
Dude, we have been on a journey. Not a long one,
Yeah,
but we're making
definitely
progress.
been fun. I'm glad we decided to start doing this because of the whole coronavirus. You know, what else the fuck you going to do?
We're stuck here. We're comparing notes, comparing ideas, and I think it's turning into something really interesting.
Yeah, I think this episode we're going to go into
The economy.
The economy, finances. So get your wallets ready and whatever. Just
Also, we have a new addition to our theories. We have the tinfoil hat edition.
Yep.
So when we go into conspiracy theories, we'll be throwing that shit on. Actually, maybe we should start off just for
I gotta make sure
introduction of the video. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We've gone full. I especially me, because I've got a lot to talk about JFK and JFK Jr.
You want to start off? Should we dig in?
I don't know if we're gonna dig in too far with that, but I just want to say I've gone full retard on. I don't even know if you're allowed to say that anymore, but full retard on the JFK Jr. conspiracy and how he's still alive. I've gone from nah, he's not alive. There's no way he died in a plane crash to
We're talking about JFK Jr.
JFK Jr.
Right.
John.
So for the record, he is alive, in your opinion.
I'm 90% sure he is alive.
He's alive. And, well, do you have any evidence of this?
I have a lot of evidence and clues.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to save a whole lot of that stuff for maybe another podcast, but you got to pay attention. There's a lot of things that just are happening in real time and happening now that I think if you're paying attention to, you're going to see some of this stuff play out. But my theory, I just want to be clear, my theory is, and it goes 3 ways, 3 different outcomes. It's either 90%, no, it's 100%. It's either 100%
he's alive.
He's alive.
Right.
Or it's just one giant, massive trolling by Donald Trump and the people around him, the whole Q thing. It's either one giant, like, orchestrated, fucking phenomenal story.
Do you think it's possible that they basically realize that there's so many people into this that they're just kind of leveraging it for the election season?
That's why I'm making my prediction as it's either full bore, he's 100% alive, and he's going to make himself known. And I'm going to put a timeline down. It's either going to be between now and the election.
Which, side note, it is the end of August, early September time.
Yeah, we're creeping up. I mean, but it's still a long ways away, election-wise.
That's 60 days.
Election-wise, that's years. You know, you got the October surprises, and then I don't know. By the way, there's something. Donald Trump had a rally in 2019 in Dallas, Texas, on October 17th.
Okay.
I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this. He might be having another rally scheduled in Dallas, Texas, October 17th.
Okay.
The 17 is very, very important in the Q community because it's the 17th letter of the alphabet. It pops up all over the place. It popped up at the RNC, where Donald Trump had 17 flags on each side of the stage, so a total of 34 flags. A lot of references to the Kennedys and the Tiffany blue coloring that you saw. Tiffany wore a full-on Tiffany blue dress. I feel like they did that on purpose. So either they're trolling and they are on to this stuff.
Thing. Yeah,
I mean,
you got a lot of ironic symbols being portrayed. You got a lot of you got a lot of like connections that can be made.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's based off of what?
It's elaborate. So
based off of what? Where is JFK Jr.? He's supposed to resurrect, and he's supposed to be running for a presidential election, vice president. Where is he?
I'm not sold on the vice president thing.
Okay, even if he doesn't run for vice president, where is he?
He's in hiding, bro. He's
flying. So what? Day 4 before the election,
he's flying around Air Force One. He's close to Trump. Like
he's flying. So he's alive and he's flying in Air Force One.
He's protected. Okay. And he's always been protected his entire life. I mean, like I said, I'm going down this rabbit hole that I'm just super excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's a fun one to go down. It's not dangerous or nothing.
It's not dangerous in and of itself.
Yeah, but
when you make other leaps and you go to other connections and it turns into situations where like Pizzagate, where somebody decides to strap themselves with rifles and shotguns and revolvers.
Well, has that happened? Has that happened yet?
Yeah,
well, yeah, there was
Pizzagate.
No,
the whole thing of Pizzagate was that.
I'm talking about like
after that.
No, somebody's strapping themselves with weapons or whatever and going. I think that did happen at Pizzagate, right? Or
that's what Pizzagate was basically Comet Pizza. There was a guy from South Carolina who was reading these conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Sorry, before it actually was become known during the Hillary election, essentially in 2016. He read online.
It was actually prior to that.
Right. There was it was all online before then. And so basically, he reads this stuff. He gets convinced that it's a real thing, that there was an underground pedophile ring being operated out of Comet Pizza in Washington D.C. So he fucking straps himself up, marches from South Carolina down to D.C., walks into the pizzeria, doesn't shoot anybody in.
I hear about that.
Right.
That's like that's the thing with all this stuff like Pizzagate. It's one of those things where it's like you see things like that and they disprove it, or something becomes so elaborate or far-fetched that they take away from actually what it goes on. Pizzagate's a whole different story. I think we'll talk about that later. I'm just excited about the JFK thing. The whole JFK Jr.
For the record, we are bringing up JFK because we do plan on doing an episode topic entirely dedicated to the whole ideology of JFK being alive, JFK Jr. being alive. And that he will come back pretty soon. So I think that might be one of our next episodes.
I hope so. I think that should be definitely our next episode. But we should also talk about JFK Jr. It all ties in. I just want our viewers out there, anybody who's listening, if you want to have fun with it, check it out. But even if you want to just like email us, we're going to have a Facebook page up and ways that you can contact us. You can leave a comment, like and subscribe, whatever you want to do. And you find something you want to let us know, then let us know. All I know is that they're banning thousands and thousands and thousands of Q-related groups. Anything that has to do with JFK Jr., they are banning. It's incredible how they are really like going after all these people, and they're just talking about this stuff.
Well, to some degree, they're attacking the ideology, but the other end of the spectrum is that, and I'm not saying I agree with or disagree with it, but by allowing it to continue unregulated, best word I can think of. How do
you regulate free speech?
You don't. But what I'm saying is,
I just want to make a quick point on that. Like, so now Q was in the media. CNN was talking about it, and Fox, and they said this, I think, on the night of the RNC convention. There's a couple interesting things that I want to just bring up real quick.
Go for it.
Get it out of my system so we can move on to this our economic podcast. But the mainstream media is now bringing attention to this group, and I think what they're doing right now is just by mentioning it and bringing it out to the masses that of its validity. Number one. not only the fake news that they are
validity in terms of the
that
fact.
it exists, that this group that does
There is a group of people.
There is
absolutely.
a large group of people that do this research
right
on their own,
Mhm.
and now the mainstream media is acknowledging it.
that there's a large number of people doing it. Yes.
Yeah, because it's growing 200-300% in the last 6 months alone.
Oh yeah.
Like
Worldwide.
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 And all it is really is people doing their own research. There's a lot of things that if you look at the Q drops and you look at actually what Q has said,
Mhm.
people will take something and then they'll run with it. I think
Right,
that might be Q never really talked about JFK or JFK Jr. It does have to relate with it. It does have a lot of things to do with John F. Kennedy and stuff like that. There's some kind of fascination, but there was never all this stuff that the people roll with it. So like if they drop something about JFK, the people go off and they do their thing. They take it.
Right.
And
They kind of go further down the rabbit hole with their own kind of research. And come up with other
So now
theories.
that CNN and stuff like that, and what CNN has called it is an anti-Semitic, anti-Catholic conspiracy, right-wing conspiracy theory group.
So I
That's
get the
specifically
I get the
what they said.
anti-Catholic, but why anti-Semitic? Where's
I don't know. I think they really don't know much about it, and they're either trying to slander in a way, but I also think that they are
It's weird.
somewhat waking up a sleeping giant with it because it's two opposite things. Like you can't compete with somebody who's, a group of people with the internet and the technology and what we were talking about. Everybody's on the lockdown, everybody's researching their own stuff, so that probably contributes to why it's taking off.
Right.
But I feel like the fact that that CNN and mainstream media, even Fox, they acknowledge it. Even the president was asked about it, and he kind of just blew it off, which was odd to me. But again, I think with the whole JFK Jr. thing, it's either 100% he's real, and there's a lot of things that I've researched on the topic, which if it's not a movie or anything like that, it is probably one of the greatest stories that could have ever been told. If it was in a movie format or whatever have you.
Right.
Or if somebody wrote a book.
Which I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I'm pretty sure it's going to turn into a movie or at least a crazy cultural part of history in so many ways.
Well, definitely. But a lot of the things, I don't know. I just...
All right, so let's kind of like get the ideology on format. You are basically making the prediction that JFK Jr. is alive. He will resurface in the next 60 days prior to election, essentially, give or take 1 or 2 weeks, whatever.
Not the next 60 days, because I have different theories about that. There's people out there saying he's going to run or he's going to take Pence's place, that Pence is already dead. There's some crazy stuff. And
Pence is already dead?
Pence is already dead, and at the RNC...
He literally just spoke at the RNC.
He was a hologram.
Oh, well, that makes perfect sense.
But, then I pull up the video of him speaking, and I kind of see where they're going with it.
Oh,
I'm not saying that it's true, but like he looked like he was kind of glowing at that speech. I'm not even joking.
He's also old.
He looked like he was glowing, like fucking E.T. or something. I'm not even going there. I'm not going there.
Okay.
I am
just tinfoil hat time, so this makes sense.
Yes, okay. I'm just sticking with this JFK Jr. thing. I love. At first, again, 0%. No way he died. Now I'm like 90% sure he either has something to do with this, where either there's going to be a major JFK revelation.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is Donald Trump, when he first got into office, he released JFK documents.
Okay. But we're talking about the federal documents that have been obviously in their possession since the investigation.
Yeah.
He's allowing the public to view them for the first time when he first got into office.
Yeah.
Which was pre-planned back when the investigation actually happened.
Yeah.
That after so many years they would release the documents.
Release them and stuff like that. But then he tweeted something out where he said, hopefully it will all make sense in the end or something like that regarding the JFK documents.
Which is a very political thing to say.
It is. But like I said, it's they're either trolling and it's...
I think they're taking advantage of the opportunity. Well, that the movement wasn't necessarily theirs per se, but I think they see the power and ability, especially during election season, to kind of leverage that.
If they're really trolling, which I don't think that they are, based on the fact that if they really are trolling, I'm going to be pissed. As a Trump supporter, I'm going to be fucking pissed that you did all this shit and you were trolling, and that's what you did to try and win. Like, I supported you anyway.
Yeah,
You didn't need to.
I don't see Trump as like, as an individual or even as a campaign manager necessarily, literally sitting there in his Oval Office going, how can we promote Q theories?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I think so. I think there's probably a bunch of people. I mean,
I think
it could be Don Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be.
But I don't think that's like their campaign agenda necessarily by itself. To get reelected, we have to re-invoke the QAnon theory community. I think more often than not, they're just seeing it happen, seeing it unfold, and they're like, hey, when you go on stage, can you just do me a favor and hand off a box that looks like a...
That's just so suspicious to me. That is mind-boggling. The way
see how far like right off the bat, you're like, holy shit.
That means that he did this from day one. The Melania Trump thing, where she was wearing the dress and handed the box that was
looks very much like JFK Jr.'s ashes.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
he did it from day one.
He
bro.
did, but did he do it? Was it really that type of intention?
Well, then, I said, it's either one. Oh, came off.
Oh, that means a lot.
I'm gonna take this off too.
Okay.
But
so we were passing through.
Anyway, I'll wrap this up real quick because we're gonna probably do another podcast and find out what's what.
Prequel to future podcasts about JFK Jr.
And again, if you want to help us out with, or at least help me out, because I know I'm gonna be doing this probably full bore for the next. Probably till the election time is looking into. I'm fascinated about JFK Jr.'s life. I'm fascinated about JFK Jr. or JFK now. This is a fun one for me to go down, and I'm gonna enjoy it every step of the way. But I tell you what, I will be very pissed if this is all just one big trolling joke. Because
at what point would you, if it was, let's say hypothetically it was, where would you draw the line where you get convinced that it's not? Because as far as I'm concerned,
I'm going to say a year out from the next election, depending on who wins.
Biden next election or this one?
Or this one coming up. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So basically, I don't think he's going to make an appearance between now and the election. Possibly. There are theories circulating that October 17th, if he does another Dallas, Texas rally, that's where he's going to come out.
Okay.
I think it would be fucking amazing if that were true.
It would definitely rock the world.
It's interesting. If not, he's going to keep trolling because, like I said, there's a lot of appearances of somebody who a lot of people think is JFK Jr. and Caroline Bessette Kennedy. There's a bunch of pictures that are just strikingly similar that just make you go, At the RNC convention, there was this mysterious guy behind the Border Patrol people that stood up wearing a MAGA hat, and he was literally dressed like Donald Trump. He was very out of place. He was wearing a mask. It was like...
So there's a lot of suspicious activity.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of dots that connect.
Yes.
But you still need the evidence initially to make...
Oh, yeah. Well, there's not going to be any evidence unless he shows up and probably has to do a fucking DNA test, and who knows?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And then even then, you're going to get people out there saying that he's a clone and he's not real, or he's a hologram, or whatever it is. And this is, Trump's just doing whatever he can to get reelected.
Yeah.
It's a theory. It's a fun one to go down.
Okay.
Again, you guys out there, whoever's listening, or 100 people that are looking at us a week or whatever.
It's growing.
Yeah, growing. It's growing. That's fun. I still enjoy doing this. I still enjoy talking about it. I think in the future, if we do another podcast, it's on JFK and JFK Jr. I'm going to go real heavy into this stuff, and
so your claims are he's alive,
just
and he's going to show up in the next year.
Yeah, and I'll talk about his life in general. Like I said, if I was a betting man, I'm going to say, either between now and the election, I say is unlikely. It depends on what happens, I guess. Between now and then, a lot can happen. Who knows? Maybe it is an October surprise, if it's true.
A lot can happen.
And I'm going to say, let's say Donald Trump wins. Depending on what happens, I'm not going to let go of this theory probably until at least maybe a year in. I don't know. It might even drag longer until he's out of office. But definitely when he's out of office, if this guy doesn't show.
Which is like 4 years later.
Could be 40 years later. So it's going to be a long 4 years, I think. I'm going to keep holding on to this one, hold it close to the chest.
Okay. But I ask you only because a lot of times theories like this do extend longer. Once there is evidence, ample evidence that it's not true, whatever the theory is, people hold on to it
yeah.
far longer than they need to. It gets dragged on, and they bring up other ideas or other connection points or dots or whatever to connect, and then they find themselves in a place where they're like, well,
brick wall or whatever.
Yeah, and you're like, you blatantly have evidence it's not real.
Yeah.
And they don't, So you got to draw a line somewhere, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's a fun one to go down. I like it. And,
all right, cool, man.
I don't know.
Cool.
So,
speaking of, though, I mean, ironically, in current events, we do have, I believe Trump is supposed to arrive Tuesday in Wisconsin.
Yeah, the Kenosha.
Kenosha, which is where Jacob Blake was recently, what I thought was murdered, apparently he's alive in a hospital. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, getting shot 7 times in the back, how the fuck did you not die?
Dude.
Some people don't survive one gunshot wound.
Yeah. Now, granted, I mean, the whole situation is a very big BLM powder keg in of itself.
Yeah.
But this past weekend, one person died. I don't know if you saw this, like, freaking Portland is on fire. Like, there is the BLM protests going on, and then you have this, like, Trump supporter movement driving through the protests in pickup trucks with flags and all this kind of stuff. And basically, they're not running over protesters by any means, but they're going through the protesting. Like, right into the freaking heart of it.
Who is?
The Trump supporters. Like, this past weekend, there's videos of Trump supporters in their pickup trucks standing out, like saying whatever they want, essentially, just like the BLM supporters. And they're driving through the protests. And then apparently there was a right-wing guy who got shot and killed this past weekend in Portland.
I have not heard. I'm surprised I haven't heard anything about the Portland stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening like basically real time.
My opinion is
it's nuts.
I talked to you about this before. I think lines are being drawn in the sand right now versus whatever. If you're BLM, if you're Democrat, if you're Republican, all over the place. Like, you have Hillary Clinton going out there. She's saying, under no circumstances should Biden concede on the night of the election. That's a little weird. Like, it's very divisive.
But, I mean, at the same time, okay, so you have all these political divides. Is that really? I mean, is that how bad our country has gotten in terms of political division?
I think it's worse than that. I think it's something else going on. I don't know.
I'm seeing like a civil war breaking out over political ideology.
Yeah, people have been talking about it for a long time, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, to the point where now we're like, you literally have both sides
I feel like
sparring off with each other in different states.
Every time somebody brought up like there being like a civil war to me, I was like, there can't be a civil war. Not in this day and age. Not when you have Facebook. Not when you have the government watching every movie you make, and you have Netflix. But like, people aren't going to get up and get their musket when they want to just Netflix and chill. That was my opinion. But now, with all this stuff going on, it's like, I don't know. I feel like lines are being drawn in the sand.
Something is definitely on the pipeline.
Do you think Biden is going to debate Trump? Did you hear what Nancy Pelosi said?
No.
How she's trying to set the stage and convince and say, basically flat out say, Joe Biden shouldn't give Trump the time of day and shouldn't have a debate.
Really? That's what she's saying?
That's what she's saying.
So I'm just going to say this right now. We need to get Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell out of Congress entirely. I think whoever becomes the next president, their first fucking 100 days or whatever, should be basically eradicating their positions. Not the actual position, but getting them out of office, essentially.
So you're saying drain the swamp?
Yeah. But not the... I know what you're saying. I totally agree with you, man.
No, but seriously, do you think they're going to debate? Because now that's a real topic where people
debate. I mean,
they have to, but do you think... What if they don't debate? What if... Because I feel like
Trump if they don't debate, then we go into elections and it becomes even more divisive.
Or what if it's this weird hologram... Not hologram, but like split screen. Biden is all the way over here, but, split screen, but they're not in the same place because of coronavirus or whatever.
I don't need
they're doing
in
the
same place. They don't need to be in the physical same room.
They'll do like a FaceTime or whatever,
like a Zoom. Yeah, whatever.
Ooh, can I mention one quick thing about the JFK thing? Real quick.
Okay, go.
Did you see that there was a not John F. Kennedy? Who's the one still left? Robert F. Kennedy. He was doing this live event and he was talking to people, and you know how like they can talk and people can comment as he's talking or whatever.
Sure. Yeah,
somebody said, touch your nose if John F. Kennedy Jr. is still alive, and he touched his nose.
Oh, that must mean it's real!
But it wasn't like, it wasn't like he was...
You're hearing it live for the first time, ladies and gentlemen.
It wasn't like he was like picking his nose or like just scratch. It was like a blatant like...
Yes. Yeah.
It was...
Again, I mean...
Let's go back.
I understand it. I understand the claims. And
I just want to throw that out. Okay. Just in case somebody sees them.
Fair point.
All right, so no more JFK, I promise.
When are you getting a tattoo?
Tattoo, JFK?
JFK forever.
I've never had it. You have a tattoo?
I do. I got a couple.
I don't have any. I've never gotten one. I couldn't think of
You
anything.
you might be getting one pretty soon, man.
If anything, I'm going to get a Trump tattoo right on my ass. Just like a really big...
Trump and Melania forever.
I don't know if my wife's going to like that too much, so...
She's going to find out the hard way.
Yep, she's going to find out the hard way.
Why is it so... Anyway, yeah, I mean, like we are leading into one of the most, at least from our lifetime experiences, one of the most like explosive, people divided essentially. The whole thing is just it's going to be fucking nuts.
It is. Well, that's why we're trying to at least get podcasts out there every 2 weeks because shit is changing rapidly out there. And
I mean, you got all the sports teams basically canceling except for the who's it? The
NFL was playing, right?
NFL's playing. The MLB walked off the last game between the Mets for BLM. Yeah, Black Lives Matter.
They walked off.
Yeah, it was the Mets and some of the team basically walked off the entire stadium.
Yeah,
and they left a BLM T-shirt on home base. So
is it a T-shirt? I thought I saw one where it was like Major League Baseball, but it was flipped.
No, it was a black shirt. It said black. Well, actually, okay.
I did see something like that. I don't know.
I saw it really quickly.
I don't know. I don't follow sports. I mean, football and
MLB
hockey.
is out. NHL is out. Ironically, the
NHL is out.
NHL's out, right?
They just had the playoffs.
Temporarily. Unless I mean the whole season.
So they're not starting another season.
As far right now, they are protesting. And what I mean by protesting,
NHL is the hockey.
NHL.
They're protesting.
They're like, we are fully supportive of BLM.
Wow, they were staying out of it for so long.
It's mostly white. Not that that's wrong or right. I'm just saying that it's ironic because the NBA obviously has a much more, I'll just say, big stake in the game. But
2 or 3 black ice players out there
in NHL.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There is. It's like 3.
Yeah, that's true.
I think of the whole league.
It's ironic. That's all. But then you have the NBA, who basically they paused their playoffs. I believe not the playoffs. The whatever part of the season they're in. They were gonna keep playing LeBron. Brought together all the players and did the whole kneeling at the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said they were going to play the next couple of games, and then all of a sudden now they are playing those games. So
I don't know.
It's
honestly
spread. The war is
fuck
beginning.
All that shit.
We are growing
honestly,
as
sports,
a divisive country.
In my opinion, stay the fuck out of politics. I want you for entertainment. I want you to get away from it all. I want a Sunday where I'm just going to relax from all the stress of everything in the world and going on or whatever it is.
Speaking of, what's Q's number again? 17.
17. Ooh,
what's 7? What's 7 times 1?
7.
Right.
Yeah.
What was Kaepernick's jersey number?
I don't know.
7.
Was it? No. The 17.
You can make any numerology work.
The numerology stuff is weird, but the stuff that ties into Q and John F. Kennedy, I can't explain it. How many coincidences that there are?
There's a lot. There's definitely a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to go into that for another episode for sure.
Mm-hmm.
JFK and all that kind of stuff.
I still can't get over the sports stuff. Let's wrap that up, I guess.
All right, so the sports team's going into basically...
You have no new movies coming out. I mean, you have nothing. You can't go to the theaters, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a bunch of movies I was looking forward to watching this year. Now that's canceled. Like, a lot of Hollywood, gone. I mean, you got Stephen Colbert. He's basically doing his show, the Late Show or whatever, from his basement. I don't know how
pretty sure all
people I don't know how people watch that kind of stuff. And
it's comedy at the end of the day.
Well, this is exactly why I'm going into conspiracy stuff, because that's way more fun than going to the movies and all this other stuff. But,
Well, again, I mean, 2020, we've all essentially been locked down for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. We've been stuck at home with our media applications, our access to internet, our time and internet capabilities have led us to dig and research and come up with different theories. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you're talking about at least in this country alone, 350 million people roughly, pretty much all on the same kind of path. Lockdown, internet access, bored out of their minds. What are you going to get? Mm-hmm. You're going to get crazy theories, you're going to get crazy ideas, you're going to get all different type of discoveries, you're going to get exposure. I mean, all of this stuff is eventually going to come out in the long run. But it's going to be the byproduct of basically taking 350 million people who are first world country citizens, locking them up for at least half a year, and then seeing what happens.
This is unprecedented times, and that's why you need to have good whiskey, good keep everything stocked.
Keep your.
I can't believe we fucking made a big stink about toilet paper and everybody just.
That was pretty funny, right?
Oh my god.
I mean, at the same time, I was going food shopping last week, and I remember walking through that aisle and seeing the cases of toilet paper replenished.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is, because the people who raped the toilet paper, then you had a shortage of it, so they replenished that supply, but now nobody's buying it because everybody's got all the
because they're all stocked up.
Oh, how much is toilet paper now? I bet you it's a lot cheaper.
Depending.
This is a good segue into our finance discussions, because we're going to talk about economics and stuff like that. So I think if you looked it up right now,
the price of one sheet of toilet paper?
Yeah. Well, no, not just one sheet, just a roll of toilet paper or a thing of toilet paper, whatever. I bet you it's a lot cheaper because nobody's buying it right now.
Well, I don't know if the prices fluctuate that acutely.
When everybody buys something up, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not an economic advisor or anything of the such, but I would just assume that it would be cheaper. Maybe you should invest in some Brawny Charmin stock.
I think you should. Stock, yeah. Speaking of the stock market.
Fuck the stock market.
Fuck the stock market. So what's going on with that?
I don't understand the stock market.
Nobody understands it. That's the kind of fun thing. Currently, we have actually, in 2020 alone, we have rebounded completely back up from our March lows. So we're back up to where it initially fell all the way down.
Hold on again. Say that again?
So, I'm sorry, I probably spoke. Basically, from January of this year, we have dipped down into the March lows. And the rebound over the summer has gone back up to the initial point when we started this year, and then it broke free of that.
So we're breaking records now.
Basically. We are at the highest level we've ever been
Why?
at. Okay.
By the way, I want to say Q has predicted this, that this was going to happen right before the election, that it was going to be... The stock market was going to be massive before the election.
You could make that theory based off of Trump alone being in office.
You know what?
You could.
You have a point there, and this is...
It's not a wild insider information concept.
Just think about this for a second, and correct me if I'm wrong. I could be going whatever, but all the past presidents, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, George Bush, George Bush Sr., Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, was he a businessman? He had a peanut farm, right?
I know necessarily one or the other.
I think he had a peanut farm or something like that.
Well, then he's a businessman.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is, every president in my lifetime, and I'm only 33 years old, has never really been a businessman, I guess, if you want to call it that or whatever. Never really had a strong background in business. You could think whatever you want about his casinos and his business dealings and stuff like that, but owning the business is not easy.
Sure. Absolutely.
And just having that mindset of just how the economy works and how it functions, and knowing, I'm pretty sure he's very smart and knows how the stock market works. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he knows a lot about the economy. I don't think he's just a publicity guy. But the point I'm trying to make is all the other presidents before him were a type that was like... They had to have like an advisor or people telling them, "Hey, listen, this is what you got to do for the economy. This is what you should do for the economy." And Barack Obama would be like, "Yes, let's do that." Bill Clinton would be like, "Oh, sure, let's do that. We'll get back to Monica later." But you had
the White House for a name reason.
you know what I mean? Like Bill Clinton, he had his thing.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Barack Obama, whoever was in president, the president.
Yeah.
They usually had advisors, and I know Trump has advisors and stuff, economic advisors, but he doesn't always need some, he might be able to tell that economic advisor, nah, we're not going to do that, or whatever. I'm just saying, this is just, I'm putting myself in his shoes.
I think you're grasping onto the fact that he's a successful businessman.
Yeah.
And you're tying that into economic productivity.
Well, I'm just saying, most presidents probably have other people putting it in their ear what he should do, and they kind of go off of that. I mean, most presidents, in my opinion, are just about war and blowing shit up and whatever. They don't really care too much about the economy, which, again, this is why we're talking about this. But that's just a theory. I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes.
Okay, that's fair. Let me ask
you,
how did he make his money?
He borrowed some money from his daddy, and then he went and did a bunch of stuff, and then he got paid his daddy back.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it's nice to have wealth in the family and shit, but
It is nice to have both in the family. The reason I asked is because my understanding of how he actually accumulated the majority of his wealth was his father was a fucking genius. When he went into the business sector in terms of real estate, which is also from his father, he was able to basically utilize the federal assistance being given out for housing as a loaning program. And then he takes that, builds up all these development, these hotels, these apartment complexes and such. And then while he's doing that, he's a genius in that he buys the ground.
Fred, right?
Fred, exactly. Buys the ground property first and then donates or puts that into a trust fund that goes to the kids. So then, exactly.
Fuck.
Genius. So he then creates a construction company, and the construction company has to pay a leasing fee or dues or whatever to the trust fund, which goes to the kids.
Yeah.
So by the time Trump was about 29 years old, he had almost like, I think, $10 million in his account as like by himself.
And how old was he?
29.
29. Okay.
Just through basically, essentially, I mean, you could argue it left way or right.
That it was going to come to him anyway, or?
That it was, yeah, because the way that him and his father worked together to establish this trust, which more or less was really just Fred Trump being a genius.
Yeah.
Establishing this setup so that the money was being funded into the trust fund. The trust fund money then went to him and obviously his siblings. Now, granted, Trump did take it upon his own initiative to purchase other hotels, revamp them, the Condor. There was a financial building in New York City, and so on, that were successful.
Yeah.
I mean, he turned it around into like a $100 million project, but he also it wasn't necessarily his doing. Like, he owned the place, and he built it up. But his father was the one who basically kind of reorganized all the construction in it, all the uplifting and all that kind of stuff. So then he gets the money from that. And then you could go into the whole casino thing and the craziness and all the things that were successful and failed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the point is that he's business savvy. That doesn't mean he's a business genius.
No, I'm not saying he's a business genius. I'm just saying he's one of the few presidents, or if any president, that I know in my lifetime. I know Barack Obama did not have a business, did not start any businesses.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Bill Clinton and George Bush, George Bush only cared about oil probably, or whatever Dick Cheney told him to do.
I mean, Bush was a Yale student. He's kind of stuck into the skull and crossbones society.
Have you seen the movie W or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
You have or haven't?
Mm-mm.
It was pretty good. I forget the name of the act. Daniel Day-Lewis, I think, played George W. Bush. It was a pretty good movie.
Okay.
Real quick, I'm going to show. Probably not going to. I'm going to.
How about what's
how a married man opens up a bottle of beer. Shit. Yep, I fucked it up.
Sorry, we're in this part now.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
No, that's not it. Come on.
Yeah,
Let's keep going.
You want to keep
Fuck them. If our
You
viewers,
like the
if our 100 viewers really care about us cracking open a couple beers,
It's not that, so we just completely stopped talking about it.
yeah. Well, we're back. We're back, people.
We're back, motherfuckers. So,
Joe Rogan doesn't stop his podcast. We're not going to stop either.
speaking of, have you seen Rogan's new studio?
No, he's got his new studio.
He's got photos of it up, and I mean, they're not in
I'm
it
obsessed
yet.
with this studio. Like right now,
Oh my God,
I didn't know he had his
crazy.
new one.
It looks like, it's almost like, ironically, it's like an alien spaceship.
Is it?
Yeah, you walk into it, it's like dim lidded.
Damn.
It's got round freaking corner or round walls or whatever.
I'm going to look this up in the meantime.
Yeah,
so
look it up.
I will check that out.
So he's basically going to start that pretty soon. He's moving out of
September, right?
California,
September
honestly.
what? He's moving to
yeah,
Utah?
probably. Texas.
Texas.
He's going to be a Texas Longhorn.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You see, he's going to open up his own comedy club out there and stuff. Like, he's got
Should, man.
plans, man.
There's a
He's
lot
got
of
this
people.
money, and he's going to fucking spend it.
How much did he make off the
$110 million plus?
Damn. That is one successful podcast.
That'll be us in a couple years,
Yeah.
okay?
Mark his words.
Yeah, mark my words.
Mark his words.
That's
All
not
right.
a conspiracy theory.
So, actually, ironically, we're talking about the stock market. And that's one of the main constituents of the economy, obviously. Not that the old saying goes, the economy is not the stock market's not the economy. Okay, true.
All I know is you can make some money in the stock market, bro.
You can if you invest in Tesla like 3 months ago.
Well, or Amazon.
Or
I mean,
Amazon.
Amazon's worth more than gold right now. Like,
we're getting
fuck.
to gold, man. We're getting to gold. That's going to be the tinfoil hat session point too. As far as actually, the fact that we brought up Tesla is kind of interesting.
Yep.
So I don't know if you knew this, but Elon Musk tweeted, CEO of Tesla. He tweeted back in like May, maybe June time period. Basically, Tesla was at around $700 a share.
Yeah.
And he tweets out that that's too expensive. That people need to start selling. It's too high. It needs to come down. $700 a share.
Didn't he get in trouble for that? Saying like,
well, I mean, there was backlash, but it wasn't.
No. There was something he tweeted out where he got in trouble saying like, he said something.
He said
I don't know if it was insider
Tesla's
trading
way
or
too
something.
expensive. Yeah.
I don't know. No, he said like they were. I don't know what it was. Go on.
Anyway, the point is, $700 a share. The Tesla CEO thinks it's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
End of August, it's over $2,000 a share. $2,000 a share. The PE ratio is over 1,000.
See, I don't understand.
That's how much you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah, but I don't understand how they do this. So, what's the stock price of Tesla right now?
Over $2,000 a share.
How are they?
And they're doing a stock split.
Where do they base that price off of?
So
where do they come up like basing off of futures or whatever? The valuation of a company is based off of sales, is it not? Should it not be based strictly and solely off of sales and
no.
what your economic forecast is? Not what you're going to do 10 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Not what you think a company's going to be worth 10 or 30 years down the road.
Right.
The only reason I'm going to bring this up, again, I just follow this stuff like I pretend like I have money. I have no idea what I'm talking about. We're going to go back to Tesla real quick, but I just want to make this point like a
JFK still left?
a 10-year treasury note is yielding 1.5%, I believe.
Roughly, sure.
A 30-year, or maybe I'm mistaken. I think maybe it might be a 1-year treasury bond is 0.5%. A 30-year is 1.5%.
Okay.
So you buy a treasury note right now, it's worthless.
It is worthless because the interest rates are zero. Well, not literally, but pretty much approximately.
So you got to hold on to your money in a treasury bond for 30 years in order to gain 1.5%?
Right now, yes. Which is why nobody's pretty much buying up bonds.
Somebody's got to buy them.
No, nobody's going to buy them. The U.S. is pretty much out of that shit. The point is, though, with why they're doing that is because the Federal Reserve only has two capacities. They can print money and they control interest rates. So while they're controlling the interest rates, they're going to drop them down to zero as part of their quantitative easing process.
What the fuck is that?
Quantitative easing?
Yeah.
It's literally just that. It's dropping interest rates to zero and it's printing an infinite amount of money.
Yeah, you can buy a brand new 2020 fucking Chevy Silverado 1500 with 0% financing for 84 months, and you don't have to make payments for 120 days or some shit like that, half a fucking year. What's going on?
That? Come on.
I don't know.
No,
I mean, this is why it just doesn't make sense to me. But
okay, all right. Well, let's kind of like let's bring it in just a little bit, just to get like a basis formed on this.
Sure.
Right. So speaking of the stock market, we can pull up here. This is the S&P between George Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump. Now, obviously, Trump is in the highest, and all credit where credit is due. He is, I believe, roughly 50% higher than Obama for the stock market increase.
50%, and does that mean double, or what does that mean?
It's like half, yeah. Basically, so when he took office, it was around 18,000. Yeah. Okay. When he took office, it was around 18,000. It went up to 28,000 in his last. No, also, real quick side note, we are basically identifying Trump's economy with basically we are going to identify Trump's economy as the end of 2019 for this argument. Does that make sense? Because in my opinion, COVID did not, that wasn't Trump's fault, so you can't hold the economic standards of that situation under
sure.
Right?
Fine.
So
I mean, just in my opinion, the whole COVID thing and when it dropped, there's no way you could say it has anything to do with Barack Obama. But if you want to say earlier, go ahead.
Like Barack takes over with the 08 housing crash, and then he's left with the wreckage of that.
Yeah, that happened almost immediately, like that summer. August, right?
The financial fallout happened immediately. The housing crisis took
Lasted
years.
Yeah,
to build up to in so many ways.
sure.
But anyway, so like again, looking at Trump's, looking at the economy or looking at the financial S&P outcome, you have Trump reaching new highs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this
That just
in my
scares
opinion,
me, bro. It scares me.
It's not good. It's not good.
It scares me.
You have his increase of 56% versus Obama's increase of 38%. So you can see that right there.
Okay.
If we were to go into, take for example, the jobs number though, that's a whole different ballgame.
Jobs. Let's go into the job.
Right,
I have
jobs?
one grab.
Ooh,
I have
all
one
right.
graph about that. Sure,
Okay.
let's do it.
So right now we have, this is the jobs per month average between Obama's second term versus Trump.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so clearly we can see that Trump is
that average.
average, yeah. Well,
So what does
new
that
jobs per, so every month in his second term versus new jobs per month for Trump.
So like he could have 400,000 new jobs in 1 month versus 100,000 jobs the next month. That's average throughout the year.
Yeah,
So that's the whole year.
that's the entire, since he took office to 2019 versus Obama up until the second term.
Well, that number seems skewed to me because he didn't even get into his second term.
Okay, if you want, we can look into,
Because you know what I'm saying. Like, because now we have millions of jobs coming back into the economy because we lost millions of jobs.
no,
like,
this is the end of
skewing.
2019.
Go back to that graph for a second. I just want to see it.
Sure.
I'm just trying to understand it.
Okay.
I'm sure the viewers are as well.
Through 2019.
Through 2019, which is not even his first term.
That is his first term.
Well, you still have 2020 though.
Yeah, but again, we just agreed that 2020 is basically a wash in his presidency, only because COVID-19 is an external event.
So we're only counting 3 years of his presidency versus how many years of
4 years for Obama.
just that's his first term. So this is
That
to
was
the end of his second
This
term.
is the beginning of the second term to the end of it.
Oh, this is his second term beginning to the end.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
But to give you another
understand.
perspective on this, we can look at a Brookings Institute graph right here. So what this is showing basically is the unemployment rate. Now again, when Obama took office in 2009, the housing market crash happened. So now you're left with the increase to about 10.1%. He drops it all the way down between two terms.
Mm-hmm.
Very important. Two terms to 4.7%. From 4.7%, Trump brings it down to 3.5.
That's pretty good.
That is
Right?
pretty good.
What'd you say?
On both sides, yes. What you could make the argument is, in my opinion, is that basically Obama dropped in two terms unemployment down with a Great Recession, 5.4%. Trump has brought it down in one term without the Great Recession, 1.2%. So
say that again. So Obama dropped it down how many percent?
5.4%.
And Trump only
1.2, but remember that is Obama's both terms compared to Trump's one term.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say like going through a crisis, like a financial crisis, like the housing crisis, which is a whole nother fucking podcast in and of itself.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you say as the lower the unemployment rate gets, wouldn't it be harder to drop that rate?
Yes, absolutely.
Because you have more people working.
Right. So one of the argument points on Trump's side is that basically he has hit a record low in the last 50. It's the lowest it's been in the 50 years.
Yeah.
That is a true point.
Yes.
But what I would argue against that is the fact that it is not significant. It's not like he brought it down to that lowest point necessarily entirely by himself. I believe it was a trend continuing. And him being in office was a good thing for unemployment numbers, but it wasn't like it was a dramatic increase. And then when you go back to the jobs creation chart, again, which is this guy right here, I think it's this guy, yeah. Obama in his second term created 250,000, Trump created only 182,000. So my argument is that basically unemployment numbers wise, you have, I would give that to Obama, whereas the stock market I would definitely give to Trump. At the end.
I gotcha.
So that's just that. Now when we look at like GDP numbers, we're getting into a whole different ballgame, which is basically, ironically, almost, I would say they're pretty much the same. So let's go to here and we pull up this. This is the quarterly GDP growth for Obama's second term versus Trump's first term. And you're about average.
Yeah.
You're getting 2.4 versus 2.5. So my opinion, because again, I mean, Obama's first...
What is GDP? Explain that to me for a little bit.
GDP is gross domestic product. It's how much you sell. It's how much you manufacture and are capable of selling versus in your reports to your taxation and such versus... Well, you can't even say that. It's how much your country is producing at the end of the day. And then when you put all those numbers together, you're trying to figure out how much that is being able to generate income for America or your country versus how much you're purchasing outside the country. When you figure out those calculations along with taxation and all that kind of stuff, you get what's called the deficit, including the debt, of course. So if you have the debt numbers, you have the GDP numbers, and then you separate or you take those out of how much you're on average spending outside of your country, now you're getting into what's called the deficit, which is a very interesting concept in itself because...
So basically you owe money to other countries or...
Not even, it's just like on average, like if how much are you getting in your paycheck versus how much are you spending on a monthly basis?
So you're in debt.
It could be. It could be.
We certainly are. If there's a surplus, you have...
Yeah, in other words, like how much
money in the bank, you know?
Yeah, you can have money in the bank, but you can also just be spending versus income.
Gotcha.
At the end of that. That's GDP alone. So if we look at the numbers here, we got 2018's GDP was 2.9, 2019 was 2.3. Obviously 2020 was fucking crazy. COVID lockdowns and everything.
Don't you have a graph on that? What
GDP actually
didn't it take a steep nosedive or something? No.
Well, this is up until 2019, so you can clearly see in 2009, which is when the whole housing market crash happened. GDP just
fucking bullshit.
Well, it was, but
It's
not hard to imagine the GDP growth dropping to above 8%.
Yeah,
negative 8%. So there was another chart that showed the 2009 component of that, but I'm not sure if I have that with me right now. So is that, but if you want to look at in retrospect, in comparison, if you want to look at the actual deficit, or the debt, actually, this is federal debt, that's increasing, deficit's increasing, GDP is declining,
we're spending money, we're printing money. I mean, can you pull up that unemployment chart real quick?
Sure.
I just, the only chart that I wanted to make, I found was interesting, and I've heard this
one right here?
Before.
New jobs?
No, unemployment rate.
Unemployment rates.
Isn't there an unemployment rate one where it dropped or whatever?
This one?
There we go.
Okay.
So it's been dropping. But if you take a step back and you go from 2019 back all the way to, I don't know, whenever they were keeping track of all this stuff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I found this interesting as far as the unemployment rate goes by month, because, you know, every month they come out with the job rates, how many jobs were lost and how many jobs were added to the economy, and they go through that every month. Since Trump has been president, it has dropped below 4%, 21 times.
Okay.
Prior to that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see this, this chart that I'm pulling up right now.
We're looking at the chart on the screen.
Yeah, as far as I'm pulling up this chart right now that I'm looking at, it goes all the way back to 2008. I don't have it up on the screen.
Okay.
Goes all the way back to 2008. But I'm pretty sure I've heard this from other places. I can look this up later on. But I believe that it's only ever dropped below 4%, 4 or 5 or 6 times in history.
You can see right there, right in that end circle, right above the number 2019.
So that's from 2001. I mean,
2001?
that number, that goes all the way back to 2001, no?
I'm sorry, this chart does,
This chart I'm looking at is only 2008, but I believe during the Clinton administration, it only ever dropped below 4% twice. That's the only thing I know. I mean, I could be wrong with some stuff, but I know between 2020 July to 2008 January, it's dropped below 4%, 21 times under the Trump administration, and I don't think it has dropped below, let me just double check, below 4% at all during the Obama administration.
Nope. Or the Bush administration.
Yeah, you could be right. So again, like I said, I think it only ever dropped recently that I know of during the Clinton administration twice during his presidency, his entire presidency.
Yep.
That I just find crazy. Don't you?
No. And the reason why is because if you look at this chart, it shows the unemployment rate that you were saying. Here's the 4% line, right there. Now, as you follow it, you're going to go start from the beginning or the end, whichever. You can see that Bush basically, when he took office, unemployment rose, hit up around 6%, dropped back down to close to, let's say, like maybe 4.5. And then the 08 housing crash happens, that skyrockets up,
and then drop.
So, in my opinion, what's impressive is not where the rate is at, as much as how much you affected it. So, if you look at this chart, Obama brought the unemployment rate numbers down over 5%.
Yeah, and I listen.
Yeah.
The point I just want to make with that is when there is a crash, there's going to be a recovery, and then there's going to be, so the heart of the crash, I don't want to say the faster the recovery, but it's going to be a faster recovery during a normal period of time, I guess.
Absolutely.
So now you look at what's going on right now.
Right.
It dropped. We had a pandemic. Everything was closed down, like unprecedented, like the amount of
shutdowns,
shit
lockdowns.
that's going on.
Yep.
So that's why I don't understand what is going on, why the stock market is back where it was, and then some maybe. Okay. They talk about this V-shaped recovery, this super V-shaped recovery.
Well, if you look at 2020, I mean, I don't have a chart, unfortunately, of the 2020 stock market, but basically it starts off where it left off, obviously, in 2020, and then it kind of like it stays stable up until February, and then it just drops at March, hits its lowest point in March, and then it begins to incline continuously. And what we saw, I mean, if you're following the economics of it, basically the crash happened because a lot of people realized that shit was locked down and businesses were going to go out of business. No one had no idea what was going on. The stock market was going to crash.
Yep.
When the Federal Reserve came out with their initial quantitative easing plan, it was...
But they've had quantitative easing from the housing crisis. I mean, that's all I've been hearing, but is this a new plan or is this just the same shit?
The difference between the one that happened back in 08 versus the one that happened now is the one that was in 08 was about roughly $700 to $800 billion. The one that happened...
2.2 trillion plus maybe another 3 trillion they're talking about?
For the initial one.
Yeah.
The initial one was between 2 to 3 trillion, right? 2.3 I think it was altogether.
Uh-huh.
The second one, which is coming out further probably in the next month or so, is going to be close to...
Is it?
It may. I mean, he signed an executive order. He's trying to make it happen.
I know. Well, he signed an executive order for a different reason, but the whole stimulus package is a whole nother ballgame. That's another $3 trillion.
Could be.
That they're talking about right now. I mean, $5 trillion. That's a lot of fucking money.
It blows our deficit out of the water.
And how do the printing presses just not catch on fire?
Well, because people think when you hear printing money, that you're actually physically printing money.
Mm-hmm.
What you're actually doing is the U.S. Treasury is basically selling bonds to the public market. So you're not actually, you're not physically printing money. What you're doing is creating, you're selling the U.S. Treasury is selling the bonds to the Federal Reserve and public banks, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan Chase, etc. When they do that, the bonds that are being bought up, if it's by the banks have to have the money to do it. The Federal Reserve, on the other hand, doesn't. So the Federal Reserve can say, how many bonds do you want bought? The U.S. Treasury says 2.3 trillion, and it's not the total amount, but we'll say. And then the Federal Reserve says, okay, we are now liable for those bonds. But there's no point where the Federal Reserve turns around and tries to account or pay back.
So what happens when China or someplace says we want our money?
We can't give it to them.
So
welcome to the deficit, baby. We're going down here.
Sorry, I don't know much about economics, but
we pay back in slow portions, essentially.
Who has the power? The United States or China?
Which power?
As far as, let's put it in simpler terms.
Okay.
I owe you $1,000. I owe you the money. Who has more power?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, because you owe me the money.
Okay. What are you gonna do about it if I don't pay back?
Shoot you. Not literally, of course, but
Ooh.
wartime.
Ooh, wartime.
Wartime. Or here's the actual. We're gonna get because we're kind of treading into conspiracy theory waters here.
Well, what if I have more guns than you?
Okay, then we go into a war, man. What do you want?
Well, that's the whole point I'm trying to make. You skipped, some steps, but you definitely got to the end.
We're going to war.
Point that I'm trying to make is who has more power. If the United States owes China a bunch of money and they come to collect, now you have a pandemic in the mix. Now you have, you fucking came out with a pandemic. You fucking created this fucking problem that we're all facing worldwide now.
Yeah.
Germany is already, sticking the bill to China right now. What if Trump's been silent about that? I mean, he made a couple comments and stuff like that, but what if he sticks China with the bill?
The bill for the COVID?
The COVID.
Then the whole world theoretically would be at the same level. Like they could do the same thing. Yeah. Theoretically, which they wouldn't.
What's to stop? If we do it, then what's to stop any other country from doing it?
Well, okay, let's look at it this way.
Reset.
If you were China, which you own a significant portion of U.S. debt and U.S. real estate, and then Trump turns around and says,
"That's another fucking thing in itself." Holy shit!
Yeah. If you turn around and say, "Okay, China, you owe us because of all the reparations that we had to suffer from the COVID fallout," they're going to say, "Well, then you just paid off like 0.0% of your debt."
Yeah,
that's all they're going to say. So if you're looking for a war, that's not gonna invoke a war by itself.
But let's say he sticks him with the $5 trillion of this debt.
Yeah, I have no idea how much we actually owe China specifically in terms of real estate or U.S. Treasury.
I don't think it's not a crazy amount of money, but it's money. It's more money than we could ever imagine conceiving. I mean,
I
want to say it's not as much as you think. I want to say it's like maybe $2 trillion. Like, what if we stick China?
We owe China $2 trillion
or something.
$2
trillion, I think, or something like that. Maybe that's the amount of debt. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. This might be something I heard.
I think you're going really far with this one. But nevertheless, we do owe China money.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
But
regardless, I think during this whole pandemic thing, don't you think that? I mean, Germany already did it. Germany stuck them with a bill with I don't know the number, 1.4 billion maybe.
Did they pay
for
it?
Germany? I don't know.
Because you can go out there and say you owe us, and
they just say that they're going to take it off the tab. Yeah. I don't know.
It's possible. I'll look into it for sure. But there is something interesting about this. So there's up until 2019, which is where you could kind of get into battlegrounds about whether or not who was the better president, who, economically speaking specifically, who had more effect, who had less effect, blah, blah. And then you get into 2020.
Yeah.
And 2020 is where basically all the lid flies off the pan.
Yeah.
The numbers are outrageous. Yeah. Every country is in a financial despair at the end of the day. And we are now left questioning what is going to be the outcome.
Are we going to get out of this mess? You think November election comes around, COVID's over, we're opening back up full force no matter who gets in?
I'm thinking COVID won't be over until realistically the new year, January 2021. Yeah.
You think there's going to be a second wave?
I think the second wave is going to come this fall. And that's just based off of like 1918 Spanish flu pandemics. Right in the middle of election season, it's gonna blow up, man. I mean, I don't know if we were talking before about the Berlin protests against like anti-mask, anti-social distancing, and that's just in Germany or Berlin, I should say.
Yeah,
essentially. So I mean, imagine like all around the world, you have two sides. One that is like, yes, we need to adhere to, let's just say, COVID standards, and then the rest of the side, or the other side, which is like, no, fuck that, we're not doing any of this kind of stuff. I mean, it's the breeding ground for so much craziness. I mean, if not devastation, at least civil war mentality.
Well, what do you think? Do you think we're overreacting with this COVID stuff?
At this point, there's a strong argument for it.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but the problem is,
what do you think?
If there was no second wave,
you didn't get tested before you came to my house. Like we're not. We're sitting 2 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think realistically...
Are you worried about it, or do you think some people are...
Am I worried about it for myself?
Yeah.
No.
Am
I worried about it for you getting it? No. Am I worried about it?
What the fuck, man? I can fucking get it and die.
Because if you die, I'll replace you, dude. Just kidding. So
I'll come back as a clone.
Actually, if you die, I'll bring JFK Jr. onto the show.
Hey,
and then...
Speaking of Jake, that's all I care about right now. I don't care about COVID. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about Trump. I don't care about Biden. I don't care about the election.
Yeah.
That's all I care about is JFK Jr. right now.
So the point is, at the end of the day,
And my tattoo of Trump.
and of course, around your ass. So, if there is if there is somebody in your family or your circle of friends or whatever that is of high risk,
Mm-hmm.
there's I work with a guy who is
That's the same thing with everything now.
roughly my age, but he's immunocompromised.
Yeah.
When I'm around him, throw the mask
Yep.
up, keep 6 feet, all that kind of stuff. You
Yep.
respect it. That's all.
Yeah, sure.
It's not like it does. The threats don't exist. It's just does it exist in necessarily like middle age or at least
Do you think
in our
masks
30s.
really help?
Masks?
Yeah.
Yes.
And why? The CDC doesn't even know if masks help.
The CDC doesn't know initially. They're coming out with research.
They
It's
still-
always changing. I mean,
They're the CDC though. Like
Right.
they're saying there's still no proof that it actually helps or not.
So here's the thing. The argument against the mask is that the COVID virus is small enough, easily to fit through the
I've heard,
mask,
I've
right?
heard all that.
I'm not
Yeah,
100%
we're all
true.
walking around on handkerchiefs. I went to Quick Check
Hold on.
in Sussex one day.
Before you make that argument, though, you also have to consider the fact that when you're speaking, sneezing, coughing, etc., it is mucus coming out of your mouth or your nose.
Yeah.
So the virus is not necessarily isolated in its small size.
Mm-hmm.
It could be going through a phlegm, it could be going through spit, it could be going through mucus, whatever. In which case, wearing the mask reduces, not eliminates, but reduces significantly the exposure of it to other people.
I understand that, I guess. I'm just saying, like, the CDC doesn't know what's going on. And then I went to Quick Check. It was late at night. And the cashier was wearing a bra as a mask. Like
The
cup-
cashier
like the
guy?
No, the lady.
Oh,
She was some...
okay.
It was Sussex. I mean... Come on.
Well, we understand that then, obviously. Yeah, I guess.
She was wearing literally, it was blatantly a bra, like the cup of a bra. Like,
Okay, all right.
I don't know if that was all she had, or
Could have been.
I'm just saying, like it's you have cloth masks, you have the N95 mask, the 3M mask, and you have like the actual viral mask that like pretty much protects you. Then you have the suits.
Right.
The arguments go all over the place, but then in the end of the day, then you have after all this, after 6 months of this bullshit, when they only said it was supposed to be 2 weeks to stop the spread, now we're 6 months into this, and then now the CDC wants to come out and says, we don't know if masks work, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, if you're elderly or you're immunocompromised,
I understand that, yeah.
You're exposed to it. Wearing a mask is
That should
not
be-
the only thing you can do
Yes.
to prevent this.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Old people are always going to be immunocompromised. They're always going to have...
With an influenza,
flu.
yeah. I mean, it's
And again, they don't have a cure for that. They don't have a cure for the common cold. They don't have a cure for a lot of things.
Yeah. Which argument?
Fuck it. That argument,
Okay.
that's going to go until the day where
Okay.
either something comes around where they say everybody...
There is a debate, though, whether or not the effects of the COVID outbreak are worth shutting down the economy and possibly leading us to what could be an economic depression.
I'm so scared of that.
Yeah, you should be. there's a lot of reasons why that is a very serious concern.
That's a very touchy subject with this the economy. I mean,
Not just touchy. I mean, it's a legit threat.
it is a threat.
It's a threat. We could literally be
But
so
look
far in
at
debt.
how high we're going right now, and how far we can fall. As far
Well,
as
there's a difference between like the Federal Reserve buying out mortgage-backed securities, corporate bonds, all the list is almost endless.
yes,
The amount of bonds they can buy.
yes,
That is helping out the too big to fail institutions. The S&P is pretty much one of them at this point. So
is the S&P one of them
I mean, indirectly, yeah.
from the Federal Reserve?
Like they're not literally buying up S&P ETFs. I don't want to make that claim,
Okay,
but
they're buying up bonds.
Yeah, they're buying up corporate bonds, they're buying municipal bonds, they're buying up
Ooh,
federal bonds.
fuck, man.
They literally say, like, here, U.S. Treasury, here's a blank check. And the check just keeps running and running and running. Now, Jerome Powell, the federal chair,
Where do you get your information from?
everywhere.
Where?
Everywhere.
Where though?
Everywhere.
I'm not trying to give me an example. Of like,
For what, economic values?
well, I don't want to go conspiracy, put my tinfoil hat back on, but like Q and X22 talks heavily about all this
Okay.
and mentions this and mentions what's going on. I don't know when we're going to put our hats
I'm not
back
getting
on,
my inspiration
but
from them, per se.
that's why I'm curious. It's just where you get it, because that's where I get it from. I mean, like I said, I'm not.
Do your own research, man. Do your own research.
It's mind-boggling what you're saying to me. Like I'm telling you, like it's stuff that they talk about.
It's fucking scary. Like people don't like. They're so concerned with either COVID or social unrest and all that kind of stuff. That will eventually blow over. Mark my words, it will blow
distraction
over.
for what's coming in the economy.
No, I think it's just happening. I think it's perfect timing for it to happen.
There's too much perfect timing going on.
Oh
now.
yeah, but 2020 is a fucking shit show, man.
I've never seen anything like this at all.
Nobody has.
All right, go back to the Federal Reserve. They're buying up these bonds. They're
buying up the bonds. They're buying up all the federal assets. They recently, Jerome Powell recently had a business meet or a federal press interview, and he basically said that they're going to shoot for a 2% inflation rate on average.
who's this guy?
Jerome Powell?
Yeah.
He's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. He is the head honcho.
Is he? I thought it was a chick, wasn't it?
No, Jerome Powell. Or Jay Powell.
Somebody else.
Nope.
Okay.
Although I will say on a side note, Trump is trying to, his elect for the Federal Reserve is Judy Shelton.
That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, which is a huge gold standard proponent.
Gold standard.
Gold standard proponent. And this is why this thing's getting so crazy. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
I'm following along. I'm picking up the pieces. I'm picking up what you're throwing down. Let's go.
This is actually it's fucking fascinating. So basically, with our federal government and all the other governments in the first world.
Do you think it's fascinating? By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you think it's fascinating? Because I feel like normal people out there don't think it's fascinating, and I think it's fucking fascinating.
I think it's fucking fascinating. I'm also the type of guy who really enjoys learning about the financial fallouts throughout history.
Yep.
Like I love the 08, 09 crash. I love reading about that. I love learning about how it happened, why it happened, how the whole thing unfolded. Like that to me, that's more interesting than say, I don't know, E-News at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because it's real, it happened, and when you begin
watches E-News anymore?
I don't know. Some people, I guess.
Yeah.
But the fact that it happened, and more importantly, how crazy of a situation is taking place.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are blowing past federal debt levels, federal deficit levels, federal income levels in terms of GDP growth and all that kind of stuff. All of that is getting just basically thrown out the window. So what this leads to is all these countries around the world, including ourselves, obviously, accumulating so much debt that we cannot begin to pay it back.
I think we passed that a long time ago, but now it's just accelerating.
Sort of. I mean, we can pay back the interest, but we can't pay back the principal.
Now we're past paying back the interest. We can't even pay the interest right now, right?
That's the deficit. That's what deficit is, essentially.
We can't even pay the fucking bill for the interest.
Essentially. And Jerome Powell was like, we're going to worry about it later.
Why? They're always kicking the can down the road.
But there is a concept of too big to fail. I mean, when you go back to the 08 crash, I hate to say it, but...
No, fuck that. Fuck these too big to fail motherfuckers. Let them fail, and we're just going to have to deal with some shit because we're doing everything wrong.
What would happen if there were no banks?
I don't give a fuck.
You don't give a fuck that you couldn't buy gas, you couldn't buy electricity, you couldn't pay your bills.
Let's go back in time. Let's get in our time machine right now. Back in time, because this is going to lead up to cryptocurrency. This is the only probably intro, because I know you were probably going to talk about crypto, right?
I was going to bring it up eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time. What did we trade with?
Gold.
No. Further back in time.
Before gold?
Before gold.
Commodities. Sources, resources, capabilities. If you could build a house, and I could build a
bartering, sheep, goats, whatever.
Yeah.
Rocks, maybe, if you want to go that far back.
Wouldn't trade rocks, but...
Whatever it is. I don't know if the cavemen traded. I mean, they probably traded coconuts, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The more that the time goes by, the faster a currency changes and changes civilization.
True.
So you go back to the cavemen days, they're trading, and then thousands and hundreds of thousands of years go by, and they find gold or whatever have you.
Mm.
So then they start trading gold and metals start trading for a long period of time, probably thousands of years and maybe hundreds of thousands of years. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. And
then along comes paper money, which is, probably within the last 300 years or so, 400 years or whatever. Let's say, take America, for instance. They started saying, here's a note where we owe you this amount of gold.
1914, I believe.
Oh, you got it all written down.
I got you, man.
So you know where I'm going with this. Then you start having credit cards. Then you start having checks, cash, coins. By the way, we're in a coin shortage right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that's
Release
all about.
the coin shortage.
Jesus Christ.
Well, the murder hornets didn't do anything, so you gotta figure something else
No,
out.
motherfuckers, the mortar hornets. Oh, shit.
They're here, motherfucker.
What was that movie? Attack of the Killer Bees? Remember that movie?
It's kind of the same thing.
I know, but that
Dude, murder hornets are no joke, though. It takes like 7 to bring down an average adult male. Or
Fuck
anybody.
them.
I mean, it's
murder hornets. I don't care.
it's
If I get stung, I want to... Whatever. So anyway, so you have checks, you have cash, you have...
You have IOUs. At the end
basically
of that.
IOUs. You have now you have credit. People are getting into credit card debt where they just buy more than. That's the American dream right now. It's just to live in crippling debt for the rest of your life. I feel, but basically you have credit. You have debit. You can buy things online. Now you have PayPal. Now you have. I can press my thumb on my phone and scan something or whatever it is. I can wipe my phone. Even my credit card. I can pull out my Amex right now. I can swipe it. I can put the chip in,
right,
the NFC chip, and I can wave the credit card right over the thing, and it pays for it.
Yeah.
So we're getting away from money right now. So now you have this crypto thing coming up.
All right.
And again, every single time it happens faster and faster and faster. So like when credit cards and checks started coming into play, it's probably within the past 50, 60, 70 years, maybe since the 100 years. So now you saw like the development of the NFC chip, the way you're paying online, you're buying everything online, you're buying everything on Amazon. We're moving away from we're basically going to a cashless society, which is what everybody's talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the direction it's heading. That's where it brings it into cryptocurrency. So I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, well, I mean, just to lead off of that, Sweden, I believe, is claiming they are the most cashless society in the entire world right now. They only use roughly about, I want to say about 13 to 15% cash involvement.
Fuck Sweden.
I mean, there's some good things out there.
Well, it's still, they're small. How big are they? Are they the size of like New Jersey or whatever?
It's working, man. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
So anyway, I mean, cashless society. So cashless society is a byproduct, in my opinion, of the technological advances. Where, like you said, nowadays you don't have to have physical cash on you to make a transaction.
Cash on me.
Exactly, but at the same time, that's not getting away from cash. That's just getting away from like the physical cash.
Yeah. But
remember, the Federal Reserve note, known as the U.S. dollar, is literally just an IOU for originally supposed to be gold. 1971, Nixon breaks us off. They said the whole Nixon shock. Breaks us free of that, and not that it was a good thing.
He basically just said, we're just going to go away from the...
Yeah. Which is insane.
Gold standard.
Yeah, because in the Bretton Woods Agreement...
But that was to supply the Vietnam War, was it not?
Well, it was the fact that we were trying to fund the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And when our printing money got so large, it would exceed the limits of the gold attachment. He said, well, I'm the president, I'm going to do what I want. But the problem was, in the Bretton Woods Agreement... We told the rest of the countries, the 44 countries that went there to the New Hampshire, that we would become the U.S. The world currency reserve because the U.S. dollar was tied to gold. So 44 countries sign up and say, "Hey, you know what? U.S. dollar is tied to gold or pegged to gold. We're gonna use that as our reserve currency." And then we're like, "Fuck you guys." We're off the gold standard. That's why they called it the Nixon shock, because everyone was like, "You got to be kidding me! Why are we using the U.S. dollar?"
I was just watching this movie the other day. It was called The Irishman, or Kill the Irishman.
The Irishman, yeah.
Is it No, not The Irishman. One? Not Martin Scorsese. It was called Kill the Irishman. It had oh shit, what's that guy's name? You know, the guy with the cowbell. Hey.
You always need more cowbell.
Yeah, that guy. What's his name?
I don't know. I forgot that.
Oh shit. Well, he was in that movie anyway, but like basically it's like a mob movie.
Yeah.
And the one guy's like, and it takes place right around that time period, and one guy was like, Nixon's going to go off the gold standard and this country's going to be fucked. And like I was like, oh, yeah, that's what happened. That's what's going to happen. We're in the future now.
We are fucked. We are, though. I mean, like, legitimately, we are fucked.
So what's the solution?
Okay. This is hypothetically tinfoil hat time.
Woo, where's mine?
Okay. Roll that shit on because we're getting back into the solution game. All right. So, hypothetically, the theory goes that if you, as a federal government, acquire so much debt, what you can do to balance out things, sir.
Oh, by the way, this is what inspired the name for our podcast.
Yeah, Blood Red Sky.
Blood Red Sky.
Yeah.
There you go.
This is a Innocent Guns production. It is also a blend between, basically they take their beer and they age it in rum barrels, which is fucking phenomenal.
It tastes,
right?
It's very good.
Yeah. So basically what they're saying is the federal governments in every country are accumulating so much debt so fast that in order to balance out those numbers, what they can do is they can take their gold holdings, all right? They can take their reserve gold holdings, and they can increase the price of gold to balance it out. Make sense?
Say that again. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
All
I
right.
mean,
Let's say you are the Federal Reserve or the federal government.
Yep.
And let's
Well,
say
it's not the federal government. It's the Federal Reserve and the federal government. They're two different things.
right, exactly.
So,
true. Let's just say you have your bank account, and in your bank account you are $10,000 in debt. Okay, you're making $9,000 a year, but a significant portion of that has to go to bills, living expenses, etc. Taxes, exactly. So let's say you are paying off a $10,000 loan, and instead of trying to pay it off for roughly what could be about roughly 10 years, you also have a stash of gold stacked in your closet. Now, if that gold is priced at, say, $1,500 an ounce, you can only pay off so much. But if all of a sudden you have the capacity to manipulate that price, and that price can jump up to, say, $20,000, $30,000
they
an ounce.
gold like no tomorrow.
It's happening, bro. It's happening.
Right now?
Yeah, not as much as you think.
Not as much as you
Right
would
now.
expect.
Right now
Right?
it's not.
Like I figure like during all this shit, it should have gone. It really hasn't moved that much. It budged a little bit, like maybe 10%.
No, it's up by like
20%,
40% since
40%.
the bottom of March. Yeah, because I
What
bought
spot
into
right
it.
now for gold?
1947 was the last time I checked for the weekend.
Okay, so I think it was like 16 not that long ago, wasn't it?
I got into it at 1720, and that was in May.
So it jumped.
That's roughly
10%.
that's about 30%.
Is it?
Yeah, give or take. Well,
19 versus 17 in the past.
no, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, because I
wanna say
I ran the
12.
numbers. I got it here.
I don't even care, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think it would have went
20% at 1500 to 1937. Yeah. It's about 20%.
In my opinion, with everything going on, it should have went through the roof. Like I feel like the stock market should have went down, gold should have went up. Why didn't it? Why didn't it do that?
Well, because the stock market went up. It skyrocketed. Listen. The Federal, when you're an investor and you know for sure when Jerome Powell goes out on the fucking microphone and he says we're going to keep buying assets and we're going to keep supporting the economy and blah blah blah, you know the stock market. He's saying that the stock market cannot fall. If you're an investor, what are you going to do? You're going to fucking buy.
You're going to play the game, right?
You're going to jump in, because you're not about like what company's good or bad.
Like
you're looking for money.
Yeah, I made some mistakes during this whole thing when it went down, when it went up. And I should have just left it alone. Should never touched it at all.
I know two doctors, one that jumped out of the market in February, not late March, late February, early March. And then one guy who was like, no, I'm just going to let it run. The guy who let it run,
he's all right.
He's doing pretty good.
Now, what about those senators, Republicans, and Democrats that knew about everything that was going on that basically shorted the stock and rode it on the ride back up, and
they are being investigated as far as I know. I don't know what the outcome is of the charges.
Sure, they
should
are
get fucking charged. It's bullshit. Listen, if you're a senator or a House representative and you are
privy to certain information, I mean,
it's insider trading. Yeah, it's insider trading.
But is it though? Is there a law? Is it because they're a senator and stuff like that? Do they know that this wasn't even a law?
No, the point is you're privy to information that the public is not privy to. So, for instance,
if you own a company, but not if you're a senator, is that not true? If you own a company, if you're part of a company like Martha Stewart or whatever,
Yeah.
or
Like Martha
Tesla,
Stewart cannot buy Martha Stewart stock
she
knowing
can't go
what's going to happen.
exactly. So that I don't know if there's a law if senators can, if they're privy to a certain information that the entire economy is about to collapse because of what's going on and because of this secret meeting that we just had, and we know that this is going to happen, and we short the stock,
Mm-hmm.
and then make a bunch of money and then ride it all the way back up.
There isn't a law against that specifically, but there is a law against insider trading, which is the same thing.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah. All right.
But did they find a loophole? Is what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
No, they just thought they weren't going to get caught.
They definitely got caught.
It.
But are they going to get in trouble? Is what I want to know. Are they going to be held accountable?
They should.
And
whether it'll happen or not,
again, is there really? I don't know if there's a law. Is there a law that
there's a law against insider trading?
Insider trading, but again, is there a law because you are a senator? You're not part of any company. You're just an investor.
It's still insider trading.
Is it?
Yeah. If you're a financial advisor, and
I believe you. I consider, but I just want to know if there's a law.
There's a law there's a law against insider trading.
Well, they better get fucked for it because that's bullshit.
It is absolutely, and they do not deserve on any grounds to have that type of leverage in the market.
Yeah,
obviously they made it all pretty well. But that being said, I mean, going to the conspiracy theory end of it, the hope and
shit, we still got these on.
Yeah, man, we're in a conspiracy theory mode.
All right, go ahead.
So the theory is that basically the U.S. and many other countries are going to agree to go back to the gold standard
with crypto.
Well, it could be because essentially, Bitcoin is considered digital gold.
It is right now. It's fucking worth a lot of money. What
it's like 11.5. You know,
a coin is
yeah. But the highest was like 18,000.
Right, 18 or 19. Didn't it go like 19?
Give or take. The point is, I mean, depending on how you look at it, like cryptocurrency is still considered a very unsafe asset. But
I'm too scared to invest in it. I know we talked about XRP.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm scared to invest in it, and I don't understand it. I think a lot of people still don't understand it. But the idea of a gold-backed currency that's created by the government,
by the government,
a U.S. cryptocurrency. You heard about like the blockchain with the post office thing, right?
So blockchain is a technology that is basically exploited by all cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, the difference is basically if you go to the U.S. dollar, it is directly impacted by the Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Federal Reserve prints more money or they change interest rates. That changes the value of the dollar. Cryptocurrency, on the other hand, which was created post-08-09 crash as a solution to that, because they realized what was going to happen.
Wasn't there a theory that Elon Musk created blockchain or some? There was some.
He didn't create blockchain. No.
Who came up with the code for blockchain and
it was
Remember?
blockchain. The idea of blockchain was well before Bitcoin, but it wasn't Elon Musk.
I mean, it's just a theory out there.
Yeah,
when they released the algorithm or something like that, wasn't it like it was anonymously released?
Blockchain is the ideology basically that you have whoever's on the network is responsible for validating the validity of the actual asset.
Uh-huh.
So if you're taking Bitcoin, for example, if we have a transaction and you give me something and I give you Bitcoin for it,
it's anonymous.
It basically the transaction goes out into the network.
Yeah.
And then all the different network groups validate the history of the Bitcoin transaction.
Okay.
If they find that it is absolutely, if it matches up, in other words, I didn't steal the money, it's considered a valid transaction. That goes onto the historical record of the entire network.
Mm-hmm. That's the ledger, right?
That's the ledger.
Yeah.
Which is different versus like if I give you $1, you don't know if it's fucking bankrupt or what, or created out of thin air.
Yep.
But also the fact is, the idea is decentralization. If you can prevent a one focal point entity from controlling the value of the currency, then you give the power back to the people as opposed to the central government. So the Federal Reserve cannot control the value of the Bitcoin, as an example. Now, that's just blockchain validation, essentially.
I'm going to take my tinfoil hat off for a second, because, well, not for a second, because I don't think that any of this stuff is conspiracy theory at all. I mean,
The existence of it, no. What it will become, we don't know.
I think that's the future. I think that's where we're headed.
Mhm.
I don't think we're going to remain a cash society very much longer. You already see that's where the direction it's going in. Everything's digital. What's scary to me is this is why I can't pull the trigger to invest in Bitcoin. When the whole Bitcoin thing was going on, I was like, oh shit, man, look at this thing. Look at what it did. Like, it made so much money. I was like, I got to get in on this.
Absolutely.
But I held tight. I waited, and then it actually took a tank. Went down to like 3,000. I was like, oh, thank God I didn't do that. But then I started following XRP. I started following Ethereum. I started following, all the top ones. And then the one that stood out to me was XRP because it's actually being used on mass scale with a lot of major companies, Amex, MoneyGram, and they're used in a bunch of banks right now. They're actually testing it in a bunch of different banks. Bank of America, I want to say, don't quote me.
Yeah.
So that one's the only one that actually seems kind of... Bitcoin is nice in a way because it's anonymous. And there's only a certain amount of it.
There's a big distinction between Bitcoin and XRP,
and yes,
too.
Totally different. Totally different. For those who don't follow or whatever, I mean, I've looked into it as far as maybe I'm going to invest. I don't know. My whole thing is Bitcoin is anonymous, which is appealing. It's expensive as hell. There's only a certain amount of it, which makes me think of like gold standard
you
type
can buy
deals.
a fraction too.
It breaks it down. You can buy Bitcoin. And that's what's cool about it too, where it's kind of sustainable and it's kind of a preventative against inflation, if you want to say.
You could.
Because there's only a certain amount of it. They could break it down, but it's never going to like shoot up a crazy amount of money.
It's not, but the effects of inflation that would seep into it are that's years down the road.
Yeah, but it's also like in a way, I think it's a perfect currency. Bitcoin, I mean, cryptocurrency in general. But when are they going to find the right one? I know China is doing the digital yuan. They're testing that out. We might be coming with one down the line too.
We are, and there's a big difference between a central bank digital currency versus cryptocurrency.
Now, what about a cryptocurrency backed by gold? Or
that's
diamonds,
conspiracy, man.
Or diamonds, or whatever have you.
There's, because you got like people like Charlie Ward out there who are online basically saying that, oh, I know what's going on behind the scenes and behind the veil, and XRP is going to be backed by gold, and that's going to be basically the entire world currency reserve, which is complete bullshit. And then you have the realistic approach, which is that the central banks and the governments of each country are basically going to come together and realize we cannot sustain our financial balance sheets.
Yes.
Currencies are all over the fucking place. Debt is through the roof.
Yes.
Let's reset.
Okay.
Let's just push the button.
Boom.
You forgive all federal debt.
Q talks about all of this.
Yeah. And
so does X22. Like, I'm surprised you don't follow him. He does like a separate... And this X22 report, he's a... This guy is not like a Looney Tune. Like, he's a very level-headed, like, hypnotizing almost. Like, he doesn't sound like a lunatic. He sounds like a very smart guy, but I don't know where he gets all his information. But he talks about the exact same stuff you've been talking about for the past hour or so.
Yeah.
I mean, but he talks about the other stuff as well. He talks about Q posts. He talks about...
definitely look into XRP, or X22?
X22.
X22, okay. Definitely look into that. But the point is, at the end of the day, the need for a financial reset is evident. And if you look at the numbers that the biggest financial hedge fund managers are doing, it's very interesting. You have Ray Dalio in the second quarter of this year has increased his holdings in 2 gold ETFs by $1 billion. Okay. Now, what's
an ETF?
ETF is basically exchange.
Oh, never mind.
Sorry, my bad. Exchange traded fund. It's basically if you buy an ETF, you're spreading your money out over a group of stocks.
Yep.
But you're not actually owning the stocks. Therefore, you're not owning the company. Big distinction between that and a mutual fund. Like an ETF is like something you invest in if you believe a sector is going to go in a certain direction. You want to get exposure to it. So. Ray Dalio, CEO of Bridgewater, is basically betting that GLD ETF, which is basically covering the gold spot price, that's going up. So he's $1 billion into it in the second quarter this year.
Why?
because he believes that we are going to. Two things are going to happen. One,
and when did he make this?
second quarter of this year. So you got January, February, March, which is the first quarter. Yep. January, March, April, May, June is the second quarter. So between those 3 months, he basically.
So between March and June.
Yeah. So, well, no. April, May. Yeah, April, May, June.
He made that big of a play on it.
Now, granted, he is the CEO of the largest hedge fund, or at one point was the largest hedge fund in the world.
What's Warren Buffett doing with gold?
So, Warren Buffett. Interesting you bring him up.
I know you got that down.
Oh, of course, man!
Right.
So, he reduced his exposure to Wells Fargo, but he completely sold out of Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase. Now, if you're into finance, you know that those two guys, those two banks, are the two single biggest fucking banks on Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
He is out.
He pulled out.
He is completely sold off Berkshire Hathaway shares in both of those banks, and he invested $500 million into Barrick Gold, which is a Canadian miner. Gold.
So Buffett is
gold.
On gold right now.
He's balancing out his
the guy who bets on fucking Heinz ketchup and whatever the fuck he sees people buying at Walmart.
Yeah.
He's buying gold now.
Mm-hmm.
And when did he make that play?
Second quarter this year.
Is he shorting it?
He's long.
He's going long. How far out?
He bought $500 million. I
would just do whatever Warren Buffett is doing right now.
I don't take him with he's a little outdated. I will say he's a little outdated.
No.
Yeah, he is.
Maybe he knows something.
Well, okay. Here's the thing: Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett are both increasing their share of gold.
Yes.
Now,
when they buying gold, that's
huge.
Something. You can't go from ketchup to gold, and you know something's going to go on.
Well, you don't go to ketchup because you think ketchup's going to succeed. You go to ketchup because essentially the CEO's strong, the dividends are strong, the company is long term going to pay you out.
Those are responsible ways of, I guess, investing, if you want to say, but investing on a company when their earnings are only
minuscule,
very minuscule, but their stock price is exponential. Like Tesla, Amazon, they're not worth what we're paying them.
No,
they're not worth that.
Amazon
stock.
might be, but Tesla definitely not.
Amazon's not either. Not what.
According to Morningstar reviews, which you can find on your basic brokerage investor company, or
can Amazon just split already? Like, what the fuck is going on?
No, Amazon. Well, maybe.
Can they?
So the funny thing is, Google split, but they split because of voting rights, and everyone's like, no, yeah. If you go to invest in Google, you go to Google. Google Class A or Google Class C. Class A, if you own shares, you can vote in the company. If you own Class C, you can't vote in the company. They did it. Everyone was like, great, this is cool and everything. And then the stock market's like, no, we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't do that anymore. Apple is on track to, this Monday, ironically, split their shares 1-4.
1-4 or 1-5?
1-4.
5-1, I mean.
Like, if you own one share of Apple at $500 a share, you get now 4 shares of $125.
Is it 4, though? I thought it was 5-1.
Tesla's 5.
Okay.
So Apple's going 1-4, Tesla's going 1-5.
And they just did a 1-7 not that long ago either.
Did they really? Apple?
Or 7-1. Not recently, but a few years ago.
Yeah, I won't be surprised. I don't know. But I know they're doing it now, and it's going to be interesting.
Definitely interesting.
Because when Apple did that, the Dow Jones kicked ExxonMobil out of the Dow Jones, which has been there for like 30 years. So there's big shifts happening in the tech sector, essentially because of this whole stock split thing. But getting back to the gold standard concept, you have Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett going more long on gold.
How long? Can you find out how far out they're going? Because honestly, if it was me, I would just.
Listen,
I would just do what he's doing.
If I were you, I would buy gold.
Yep.
In whatever fashion you can. Do it now.
That's what I want to do.
Wait about a year and see what happens. If
it goes down, just buy more.
Yeah, I mean, again, gold is a hedge against market volatility.
If you're going to make a gold play,
you can hold on to it. Don't get me wrong, you can hold on to it. What I'm thinking, and I bought into it back in March or May of this year, I'm already up roughly 20-something% just in this year alone. And I expect it to go much higher than this.
Well, think about silver.
Silver too.
Look at silver. I mean, silver if shit goes south, silver could be $500 an ounce.
It's a long shot, but yeah, could be.
It could be.
It could be.
If shit hits the fan, if
it's
things
like
collapse,
28, 29.
what are people going to trade in? They're not going to want to trade in cryptocurrency. They're not. I mean,
realistically, man, if the economy just fucking tanks
Yep.
and we're in an apocalyptic setting,
Yep.
it's kill or be killed. It's not. Let me trade you silver. You know,
am I going to go on the street and give you $100 Benjamin, or am I going to give you a piece of silver or gold?
Like, I'm going to say, can you give me food?
No,
they're
not going to say right now. They're going to say, give me your food, give me what you got. If it gets that far, I'm just saying.
True. Yeah.
What's a better economic and commodity play? Gold, which is it's valuable. It's always been valuable for as long as time can tell. But what do you think is more of a strategic trade right now? Is it gold or silver? Because silver is a commodity that yes you can trade in small increments between me and you, whatever. And if you look at what they're doing with silver, how they're breaking it down to a tenth of an ounce, they might even go to 100th of an ounce.
Yeah. Silver has made more gains, but silver's also it's a beta value compared to gold.
Exactly, but silver is also used in building computers, building all kinds of stuff. It's used way more often right now in the technology sector than gold is. Gold is too expensive. It is used in building computers and stuff, gold-plated, whatever. But silver is something that
more valuable.
I think might be a stronger play in the future.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would argue...
it's not much of a risk. You could buy, a little bit now, a little bit here, a little bit there.
True. Yeah, I mean, silver's not a bad play.
Yeah.
I would totally recommend silver. What I'm going to say is basically gold is alpha, silver's beta.
Obviously,
but they're both in the same running.
Yes.
The equivalent is like Bitcoin is gold, Ethereum is silver.
I'm just saying, let's say...
Depending if you believe in XRP or not.
Gold is at what right now?
Gold is around 1947.
So
for the weekend.
Gold is at, let's say 2,000. Let's say gold goes up to $100,000 an ounce. Silver goes up to $500 an ounce.
Okay.
Who's going to make more money, gold or silver?
Gold.
Not in that play. Not if
$2,000 to $100,000.
Yes. So you have 10 times versus 20 times on silver.
If you can afford to purchase more silver than you can gold at the time of your starting pool.
Oh no! I'm just saying
if you hold equal shares of gold, equal shares of silver.
I have $1,000 of gold.
You're blowing it out of the park with $100,000 versus $500.
No. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, just use my numbers for instance.
Okay.
$500 an ounce. It's at 25 now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
2,000 versus 100,000. So that's 20 times your money for gold. How much is it? It's one.
I think you're trying to make the point that the amount of
the numbers are fake. The numbers are fake.
Yeah.
I think
gold's going to have
it's based off of nothing.
Less increase or
over
multitude
time.
of your money. Yeah, okay.
I think silver might be the best bang for your buck right now if it is headed to a cashless society. Even if it's just headed to a cashless society alone. Because think about this, because if I'm going to pay you on the side or whatever, I don't want cryptocurrency is scary because if there is a gold backed or whatever cryptocurrency that is backed by gold, then that's the new standard. There's no more cash. They say they do what they did back in World War II or whatever. They say hand in all your money. By this date, your $100 bill is going to be worth nothing. You have to transfer it to this cryptocurrency. This is all theories. This is all whatever. You got to transfer to cryptocurrency, get your $100 Benjamin, turn it into this cryptocurrency. Now we know everything that you buy. We know where you bought it, how much you paid for it, everything. It's all on the ledger somewhere. It's all digitized.
It's recorded.
It's recorded.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when you want to do something different? Now the guy who's cutting my lawn for $10 an hour cash just to make some money, now he's got to pay taxes on that money. Now...
Which he would have to, whether or not it's cash or digital.
Not if he's cutting my lawn. If he's cutting my lawn, I'm getting him a 20 or whatever, and he's going to go spend it somewhere.
Oh, you're saying basically under the table cash
under
payments.
The table, that's what I'm talking about. The deal we're going to make in private, the deal whatever. I'm going to pay you cash.
Yes, those people will definitely suffer.
Yeah, because now they're going to make you pay taxes on it. They're going to make you pay taxes on everything you do, and they know where everything is. Your cash is worthless.
Everything's monitored, yes.
Now what is the deal? Because gold and silver has always been around. It always will be around. It's always been worth something. When we want to make a deal on the side and do something, whatever. I just want to fucking pay you to paint my house or something like that, and you just don't want to pay taxes on it. You just want some extra spending money, whatever it is. Little Johnny's coming to fucking pick up some leaves and make $5.
Off the table is not going to be in the shadows anymore.
But then what is that going to do to the price of silver and gold?
I mean, again, the ideology is that the government will fix that price. So it's not going to create inflation, deflation. It's going to be a standard price value agreed upon by a bunch of group of nations.
That's
blah, blah.
That's the whole. That's them. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about us.
Well, if the government decides to agree upon a set price, we can't change it.
Well, then maybe they can't go with a gold-backed cryptocurrency. Maybe they just can't.
Maybe they can. I don't know. What I do know is that the ideology that's being proposed.
But you know what I mean? Like what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that
there's
gold and silver is going to go way up if that's the only thing you and I can trade that's worth anything. On the side, I'm not talking about I'm going to go buy a brand new car today at the dealership, or I got a business expense, or
I don't think there's going to be. Yeah, you're gonna when you get into this category, you're going to have a restriction on the availability of side transactions.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely going to happen.
Yes, but I feel like that isn't that going to make gold go up?
No, because again, the governments of the whatever group of people, the G7 or whatever, G20 decide to agree upon this, will set a specific price.
Now you have a one world currency. No.
Indirectly, yeah. I mean, right now we have a one world kind of
currency.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, the U.S. dollar being the reserve currency of the world is in some ways set to that price, but it will become more so. But again, the conspiracy theory is that the governments will agree to basically reset all of their financial debt obligations in order to begin this process. Now, whether or not that's even true, debatable. Whether or not it will lead into a cryptocurrency gold-backed standard, debatable.
Yeah.
But here's some kind of interesting facts that actually do kind of support this theory.
Before we get into those facts, let's take a quick break, and we will be right back to where we left off in just a couple seconds.
We'll be right back.
All right.
So anyway, like I was saying, the concept between bridging a gold standard with a federal, or I should say central bank digital currency, is that the central bank would still be in control of it. Which is kind of ironic considering that digital currency is supposed to be, or cryptocurrency, is supposed to be a decentralized asset.
That's what I don't understand. So unless the government comes in and says, this is what we're going to do, this is what I want, or whatever it is.
Which they will.
I feel like that's the next step in evolution as far as currency goes. Right? It's supposed to be, you have this decentralized,
like, again, cryptocurrency came out after the 08-09 crash, right? So the people in Japan came together, or whoever they were, to agree upon the fact that basically having centralized government control over currency values is leading to a very destructive path.
Yes.
So then they came up with this concept that if you, instead of giving the validation abilities to the central government, you required everyone in the network to do it, then everyone, like you and I, would be just as much responsible, if not involved, in the whole currency valuation.
Now, do you think the Fed is basically... I want to go conspiracy now. You tell me what you think.
We got too far last time. Sorry.
Would you say that the Federal Reserve is going to be non-existent? Would it be replaced with a... Why?
No.
Because what are they going to do with the Federal Reserve as far as the centralized bank or decentralizing the bank?
Yeah, I don't think you can't get rid of a central bank, essentially. From a government standpoint, what I can see them doing is basically adopting the blockchain technology. I can see them coming up with their own digital currency. Just like you said, China is in their beta testing back in the beginning of the year for the yen. And I can see other countries basically like following in suit, adopting digital currency creation But the point is, again, at the end of the day, to take away the power from the Federal Reserve to be able to do that. But
Well, maybe that's what I mean. Is are they going to take the power away from the Federal Reserve, which is a private company, and make it a
realistic,
centralized or decentralized platform that is controlled by the government, not controlled by the Federal Reserve, which is a private organization?
I mean, it is, but again, like you're going to give people the illusion that they have control and power over the currency value.
That's what all this is really an illusion, because it's really you're just kicking the can down the road.
What you're going to do is from digital currencies. The digital currency is going to be set to each specific country's standards.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to connect all of them by a gold standard at the end of the day.
Now, again, I still think it's all fugazi, but do you think that if we went back to the, let's say, do you think it's a better thing that we go back to a gold standard backed currency versus keep going the way that we're going now? Do you think that turns it around? Does it make it better?
But what happens is, like, when you go back to a gold standard, as a government, you are essentially subscribing yourself to restriction. So the reason every country has broken off the gold standard is to be able to print more money to fund either a war, a financial incentive, etc. In other words, if you and I, as average people, try to go buy something and we can't afford it, we don't have a printer that can just print out money for us to go do it. Nor should we.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow the federal governments in every country...
They've all decided that that's okay.
Well, they just made it happen. Yeah, they realized that other countries are doing it.
Who else do you go with that? Besides actually trading gold and silver itself, which is a commodity, it's a physical thing you can hold in your hand, versus a piece of paper that says it's basically an IOU, versus now something that you can't even see or touch or feel.
Right.
That is backed by gold. But you still have,
Yeah, it no longer is, essentially. And that's the point, is that so many countries have broken free of it through their own ventures to be able to financially print and do what they need to for their own prosperity.
So you brought up Switzerland, right? Right?
One of the Norwegian countries,
So, what's going to happen when these major countries, Russia, China, the United States, European Union, because you saw what's going on with the European Union. I mean, that's just falling apart. They're all like, we don't want no part of this. They're all backing out.
Actually, they're not.
What do you mean?
Actually, they are leveraging in 2018, 2019 saw one of the record biggest increases in federal central bank gold accumulations in the last 30 years.
Okay.
So 2018 saw about 651.5 tons accumulation. 2019 saw 650 tons of gold accumulating to the Federal Reserve banks. That is an increase, and actually also by 2020, this year, they're expecting the percentage of central banks to go from 8% to 20% in terms of accumulation.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all done by the World Gold Council, just in case you want to look it up. Anyway, the point is that basically the central banks around the world are beginning to realize that they need to accumulate more gold. There is no realistic gold standard currently set. But why the fuck would you want to purchase 650 tons of gold as a world if you didn't expect it to go back to some sort of gold standard?
I guess, yes, but problem I have is, especially with it leading it all into a digital currency, is when all these governments decide it's either going to be one world currency where everybody's got to abide by the same shit. And didn't Great Britain leave the European Union?
Brexit is currently in the process.
Or in the process, or they voted on it. They said, "Yeah, finally."
Yeah, they officially agreed upon it, but it just hasn't happened yet. Standards.
Yeah, they're waiting for something.
Maybe they're waiting for JFK.
Maybe. That could be the big fucking opener.
It could be, dude. Could be. You never know.
I don't know. I think a lot of this stuff is a big distraction and a shit show, and it sucks in a lot of ways. But who knows what they're going to do, or what's really going to happen as far as the currency? Because if you look at these big power players, you look at these big countries, Russia, China, United States. Then you look at the 5G race, and you look at artificial intelligence. One of those countries, one of those top 3 countries, want to be the first to perfect artificial intelligence.
True.
Now you have, and this is all happening, like the theory of singularity. Now we're going a little bit
way off into the...
But we're in this time period now where it's all going to happen within the next 2 decades, I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
Within the next 2 decades, we're going to see unbelievable change. We're going to see unbelievable things happen in the country. I don't know if they're going to be good or bad in the entire world. And it's going to happen more on a rapid rate. It's going to happen faster and faster. But it's also a race. It's a race between China, Russia, and the United States to who's going to be able to... And this is why I think Trump's economic policies make sense, especially in this time period, where we become more of isolationists and we just worry about America first, because in order to make something like that happen, some kind of an economic shift, a massive economic shift happen, and basically in order to make all of that come together and something happen between China, Russia, United States, whoever gets there first as far as a gold standard, a cryptocurrency, something that's going to be sustainable. Because right now, what's going on in the world is not sustainable. It's printing money and the stock market going up and just giving out money for everything. And then not only that, you have like this whole socialist thing coming in where they're like free everything, free college, free healthcare, free everything. Who pays for all this stuff?
That's a theoretical debate, though. I mean,
it's all theoretical. But how do you make sense of all of this and tie all of that in together? Like, I don't think that there is a perfect system that you could roll out and everything's going to be fine.
There's no utopia, and there never will be. In so many ways, we don't exist in a perfect world. We can
crypto, though, however,
perfect world.
Yeah, crypto, however, it intrigues me. I'm sure it intrigues a lot of people, especially like bring up XRP. You know what that's about. You know how they're set up. They're set up differently than Bitcoin.
Right.
But then you look at Bitcoin and you're like, there's some benefits to Bitcoin, but then there's also XRP and then there's Ethereum. And maybe they're trying to find some kind of middle ground or whatever. But then the government's looking at all this and they're going to say, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
I don't know.
Turn in all your money.
This theory.
And this is what you have to do, because that's going to create a lot of tax revenue for the government.
But this theory, Bitcoin and Ethereum are mostly mined in China. So if that's the case... It's not out. It's just the U.S. is going to be entirely XRP dominant or supportive, whereas China, Russia, and all those other countries are going to be
very
Bitcoin
well might be
and Ethereum.
We might be able to get into XRP right now and
at 30 cents a share. Come on!
Imagine getting into Bitcoin at 30 cents a share. You'd be a
fucking billionaire.
Oh,
well, you'd be rich.
Be rich as fuck.
You'd be rich as fuck. And on that note, I think we should wrap this up.
Sure, because I think we can keep talking about this on and on.
We've gone into roughly almost 2 hours of conversation, so I think that's that's just the beginning, scraping the surface of the conspiracy theories that exist between gold standard, XRP, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and basically where we are going in the next 4 years.
4 years, 20 years.
Economically.
Like and subscribe. Let us know what you think. Leave us a comment. We're going to have Facebook set up for us in the near future. We have a TikTok. If you want to message us, leave us a comment. You might have more information, especially on that JFK Jr. stuff. I want to hear from you, please, because that's all I'm really going to be talking about.
Looking for the sport.
I don't care about the sport.
It's out there.
Just send me whatever. I love this stuff, and I'm going to go real deep into that. I don't care about the election. I don't care about 2020. I'll follow all that stuff, but the JFK Jr. stuff, that's what I'm solely focused on right now. And JFK in general. I'm just all about JFK and JFK Jr.
You are really about that. So if he's not around by the election season, are you willing to lose a bet?
Well, no, I never said election season.
Okay, so you're not confident that he will be back.
I'm going to say it depends on certain things happening, or I think right now my marker is at very latest the end of the Trump presidency, however long that lasts.
4 years out. If he gets reelected,
who knows? Maybe Biden's going to win.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if he gets reelected, you're telling me that
If
it could be 4
Biden
years
wins,
out?
I'm going to forget about it. If Trump wins, I'm going to give it till the end of his presidency.
Okay.
I have a strong suspicion between now and the election, depending on what goes on, what happens, I'm going to say it might happen that he's going to appear. Okay.
On that note, guys, thank you for checking us out. This is episode 6, the Red Night Sky podcast. We will see you next time for what could debatably be the JFK podcast.
It's going to be fun, and we want to hear from you. So let us know. Help us with our next podcast. So
let's see your opinions.
Yeah.
Till next time,
like and
guys.
subscribe. Thanks.